Okay, that's this. It's the role that we play as the contractor, how we play that role. Kind of like I was telling you, like, do we use case law so we can present case law? No, that's not what I'm talking about, right? It's a little bit different than that. I don't want to be an attorney. I don't want to be a public adjuster. I just want to be a contractor, right? But essentially, I think that most people feel like if there's a roof involved, our job is to go out and replace that roof. Or a hardwood floor, our job is to replace the hardwood floor. I don't think that's our job when it involves insurance claims. I think our job is one specific purpose. Like, we are hired for one reason and one reason only. We're contractually obligated for one specific purpose. And that is, we are hired as the contractor to perform all repairs that are prescribed by the insurance claim. I know that's a mouthful, so I'm going to say it again, but I say this, I'm going to say it a lot throughout the rest of the day. It's usually my starting position. It's the thing that I'll say first to almost any objection to an adjuster. Like when they start with me on, why do you have this, why do that? Well, I was hired, and I go right into it. But I'll say it again. We are hired as the contractor to perform all repairs that are prescribed by them, by the insurance adjuster. Okay, and I'll add to that for the total amount, the total approved replacement cost value amount, which essentially means that every item that they approve, I'm going to do that item for the amount that they approve it for. Okay? And now, does that mean I'm just going to take their word for it? Absolutely not. Definitely not. 25 years of experience, I've seen thousands of insurance adjuster estimates. After being a contractor, I had a virtual estimating and supplementing company. Before anybody else was doing that, by the way. I sold it a long time ago. But I was doing thousands of estimates across the country, and I had to look at all the insurance adjuster estimates. We were doing them in Canada even, in French, in the Quebec region. It got big. But I've seen a lot of adjuster estimates across the country, and there's one thing in common that I've seen on all of them. I have never once seen an insurance adjuster estimate that wasn't short. Not one. Not a single one. In 25 years, I haven't seen it. Meaning there's always something missing from the estimate. Never fails. With the exception, okay, the disclaimer, maybe the adjuster had a typo, and it was supposed to be 30 squares and he accidentally added a zero and it was 300 squares. That was not short, but I think they would catch up with that later on. Doesn't count, it's like, but other than that, I've never seen one that wasn't short. And that's because on every adjuster estimate, there are line items. And next to every line item are dollar amounts. If they are missing line items from that estimate, they are missing dollar amounts. And I've never seen an adjuster estimate that wasn't missing a line item. And so it's very, very common. And so I just believe that it's not our job to go out and just tell the insurance adjuster what's wrong with the job, and here's the prescription, and here's what needs to happen. I think that's where all the friction comes from. We get out there, we meet with an adjuster, and the first thing they want from us is an estimate usually. Do you have your estimate? Do you have your estimate? And we hand them the estimate. Look, this is a beautiful estimate. Here's how this is going to go. Here's how much it is, right? And I just want to caution you against that. I instead want you to let the insurance company lead. Let them make the first move. Let the insurance company apply the insurance coverage. Let them apply the coverage. And what do they do when they apply the coverage? They write up an estimate. And what comes out in the mail with the estimate? The check. All right? I want to let them apply coverage and make payment before trying to give them my estimate and getting into the arguments and trying to tell them how this is going to go. I'm not out there to tell them how this is going to go. When they ask me for an estimate, well, Mr. Adjuster, I could get you an estimate, right? And I use Xactimate. I guess you guys use Xactimate too. I could do that. However, I was hired as the contractor to perform all repairs that are prescribed by you. So first, I need to know what it is that you're going to approve. That way I then can know what it is to write an estimate for. Doesn't that make sense? How can I write up an estimate when they haven't even approved anything? I don't even know what my job is yet, because I was hired as the contractor to perform all repairs that are prescribed by them. Okay, so I let them lead. Let them apply coverage. First of all, approve the replacement of a roof, if that's what it is. Write it up and make payment, all right? And then I respond. I take the instruction list that I've been given and I go to carry it out. And every single time I'm running into a brick wall. I'm finding out, guess what? I can't carry this out because it's missing line items for whatever reason. One of the reasons is building codes, guys. We already talked about that. If no insurance adjusters understand building codes, how in the world are you going to expect to see the line items that are building code related on the estimate? That's why they're short, right? They don't even understand building codes. And there are other reasons why as well. But I get my assignment. That's my starting position. I get my prescription. I get my assignment. I get my instruction list. And then I go to carry it out and I find out that I can't. All right? And then I will initiate the supplement. So that's why I really want to start. I think we have that order a little bit out of position. We go out, we try to tell them how it goes instead of letting them lead, and then let's respond. Let's let them write it up. Now, I'll also tell you, when they write it up, when they write up the estimate and when they make payment, go over and pick up the money. Take the money off the table. That's another very important component. I say that because a lot of times they're going to try to, when you get around to doing the supplement, they're going to try to drive a wedge between you and the customer. What is this supplement? They call your customer. We got this crazy estimate from your contractor that was all unreasonable, and it's got all these crazy things like building codes and things on there. I don't know why we'd have to be paying for building codes, because of course they don't understand. And then the customer's like, well, wait a minute, where did I find this contractor? They're starting to doubt that, right? And then maybe they want to cancel. Question I get a lot is, how do I prevent people from canceling? One of the ways is those who hold the money makes all the rules, okay? Those with the cash makes all the rules. It may sound shrewd to you, but if you're one of the ones that say, I don't take payment until I'm done, you can't do insurance work, guys. You can't do it that way. Like, it just doesn't work as well. If you're doing it right, it doesn't work that way. So when they make payment, I would say go over and pick up the payment. But see, the problem is that we disagree with adjusters because they do their estimate, then we do our estimate, and their estimate is way lower than ours, right? And we can't get them to agree with our estimate. No matter what we try to do, we can't get them to agree with it, and we're not going to be able to agree with their estimate. It's way too low. So then what do? We try all different things, but ultimately we get into a stalemate. We lock horns with the adjuster because we don't know what else to do. They're not going to agree to our estimate. There's no way we're going to do the job for their estimate. So I guess we just move on. We don't take the job. And we're frustrated by that, right? I would submit to you, I'm still taking that job. I'll take that job. I'll take it. I don't care how much they wrote it up for, because I'm going to go and take the money off the table and then circle back and do my supplement at a later time. See, if I were to go in and there's a roof, right? And my friend back there had an example of, what if the flashing is tucked behind the siding? And you're saying that the flashing must be replaced where rusted, damaged, or deteriorated, but it's tucked behind the siding. Well, we would have to detach and reset that siding at the bottom. But it's so old, it's just going to fall apart. Well, we have to replace that bottom course of the siding. Yeah, but it's discontinued. Well, then we have to replace the whole elevation of the siding, right? And so we get into that. Now, let's say you've seen that coming already. You go out to the adjuster estimate, you see all this, and you can see it coming. You have your building codes, you're organized, you have your photos, you have a nice packet, and they ask you for your estimate, and you give it to the adjuster, and you explain all of that. And they see all that, and they're like, that's interesting. Well, but the problem is, I'm kind of 50-50 as to whether or not I'm going to approve the replacement of this roof at all. Okay, that's something you didn't know. And now I can kind of see where you're going. That makes it easy for me. I'm just going to give you a minimum repair on this job, right? And there's tons of different ways how that can backfire on you by going out and leading with your estimate. Okay, so I would just let them lead with their estimate. And you do not have to settle with an insurance adjuster. You do not have to agree to anything. There's no agreement. There's no agreement, no settlement. We're contractors. Let's be contractors. We're not attorneys. We're not public adjusters. We don't come to a settlement. That's not part of this. Let me explain. An insurance adjuster writes up an estimate, an original estimate for $20,000, for example. Say we're not even there. Like they go out, they visit, and there is no contractor, and they go visit a property, they find damage, they write it up, they write up an estimate for $20,000, right? Sometime later, the customer hires us. We go out, we do an inspection, we come up with our estimate, but our estimate's $40,000, twice the amount. And that's not at all abnormal, by the way. I've seen much farther apart differences than that. It's pretty common, actually. But their initial estimate's $20,000. We can see right away we're at $40,000. And so sometime later we submit our estimate as a supplement. It goes in, and then we hear from a desk adjuster later on, some other adjuster, right, that calls us up and says, hey, we got your supplement, we reviewed your estimate, and I'm working on it right now. I'm actually adding items to our estimate. I see some things that we should have had in there that I can add for you, and I'm adding the items. You were at 20,000, or I'm sorry, we were at 20,000 and you're at 40. I can't get all the way up to the 40 where you're at. I did add items, but I'm only getting to 30. I can get it up to 30, but not the 40 where you're at. Now I sent you a copy of the estimate. Take a look at it, and if you agree to it, let me know and I'll get a check out in the mail. Anybody ever heard that? You had something like that happen either on the supplement or I can see a lot of heads going up and down, or on the initial estimate even. You might have met, this may be coming from the initial field adjuster, and they try to get you to agree to that number, that $30,000. And you're thinking, well, shoot, what do I do? Because 20 is definitely not going to cut it, but they're giving me additional 10,000. It should be 40. But they're not giving me the extra 20, right? But they are giving me 10,000. And we all need the cash as contractors. If you don't think you need the cash, you better wake up. You need the cash, guys. Like we need cash as the contractor. You got to be aggressive about going to pick it up. And so you're thinking, well, I need the cash. I want the extra 20, but I could get 10 right now if I just agree to this. Well, guys, you can get the extra 10 right now and not agree to anything. And I'm sorry, I think that's how a lot of us started. We didn't even know that. I'm sorry for that. I want to help you clear that up. My response to that adjuster is simple, very simple. It's not anything complex that you have to come up with. You don't have to rely on case law, right? It's just, let's keep it simple, okay? My response is, well, Mr. Adjuster, I can't agree to anything. Okay? I'm just the contractor. And we have to review your estimate, okay? We have to vet it. We're going to run this through our estimating team. One thing that I can tell you is that we're in the planning stages of this project right now. We are planning to move forward. We were hired as the contractor to perform all repairs that are prescribed by you, okay? And that's what we're planning to do. We're going to review your estimate. We'll get to that, okay? But for now, the plan is we were hired as the contractor to perform all repairs that are prescribed by you. That's the plan. That's what we're going to do, okay? So I'll tell you what, go ahead and send the money. Send the money. Send the money. Go ahead and send the money. We are planning to get started, okay? And we're going to review this. And if something comes up, we'll let you know. Fair enough? Okay, great. And I say it like that, guys, because I've said it so many times. What can they say to that? You have to picture we've all gone through this. We've walked around with an adjuster at a customer's house, and maybe at the end of it, we're standing in the foyer or on the front porch somewhere, and the adjuster's explaining everything to the homeowner and saying, we're going to pay for the new roof. We found damage. We found water spots on the inside. We're going to cover that. And your fence. Looks like you've hired Chad here as your contractor. Well, if something comes up during the repairs, Chad here will let us know, and we'll open up what's called a supplement. That's their process, right? And so I think I like to go with their process. I like to use Xactimate because that's what they use, right? I like to speak the language they speak, but I want to do it better than they do it. Why is it that they are missing the line items? And we'll get into all that, right? But I think our positioning is very, very important. We do not have to agree with anything. We can get that extra $10,000 off the table right now. Well, Mr. Adjuster, I can't agree to anything. I can't agree to anything with you. I'm just the contractor. All right. But what I can tell you is that we have to review that. We have to vet it. We were hired as the contractor to perform all repairs that are prescribed by this claim. And that's the plan. That's what we are preparing to do. Okay, so go ahead and send the money, send the money, send the money. And if something comes up, we'll let you know. That's how their process works, right? But I think when we go in before all that and we start jamming them up with our estimate, a lot of independent adjusters are actually paid when a claim payment is made. So if you're sending your supplements to the original field adjuster before a claim payment's even made and he's frustrated, he or she, you might be messing with their paycheck, literally, which shouldn't matter, but there might be resistance going on for reasons that you're not really even seeing. Right? But there's sometimes there'll be an adjuster that'll have a $30,000 writing authority, and we don't know that. So if the estimate were to go above 30, they lose the credit and probably a lot of money from it. It has to go to somebody else, right? If I knew that this adjuster had a $30,000 writing authority, then I would try to get this adjuster to write it up for $29,999. And I would take the money off the table, and then I would get the supplement, and I'd get another adjuster involved at a later time. And that adjuster would be happy because they get to get paid on the $30,000. See, we're not settling for anything. I didn't settle for $30,000, guys. So whatever it is that they're paying, whatever the coverage is that they're applying, go in and take that money off the table, then begin the supplement. Don't jam it up with your estimate on day one. Okay, so if you're going out and leading with your estimate, I just want to implore of you to consider trying letting them, let the insurance adjuster lead. Okay, try that. Now, all right, I want to get into another topic here. Let's turn this.